Cassini is already watching it happen. A bright white storm suddenly appears in Saturn's atmosphere, and at first it looks like the kind of weather event that should stay contained. Then the next images arrive. It is bigger. When the camera returns again, it is spread even farther. In 2010, a massive storm erupted on Saturn and began expanding across the planet. Cassini recorded that growth in real time. What starts as a single bright feature becomes a widening scar wrapped across the atmosphere, larger every time it is seen again. The expectation is simple. Storms form, drift, and fade. This one refuses. Instead of shrinking, it keeps pushing outward across a world almost 10 times wider than Earth. The longer it grows, the harder it becomes to treat as ordinary weather. A temporary disturbance is starting to look like a planetary scale system, and that changes everything. Saturn still looks calm from a distance. Up close, something violent is spreading across the planet, and no one yet knows why it keeps getting bigger. The storm keeps moving. In the Cassini imagery sequence, each new set of images shows the disturbance spreading farther across Saturn. It crosses more of the atmosphere, pushes through additional latitude bands, and keeps advancing long after a normal explanation should have started to feel comfortable. At first, calling it a very large storm still seems reasonable. Then that option begins to disappear. Month after month, Cassini tracks the expansion. The front keeps moving until the storm eventually wraps around Saturn itself. And now, a strange image starts to emerge. The leading edge is no longer racing into untouched territory. It is approaching regions already disturbed by the storm's own passage. That changes the problem. A local weather event is supposed to stay local, but this disturbance is no longer acting like an isolated patch of turbulence. Different parts of Saturn's atmosphere are interacting across enormous distances, as if the entire planet has become connected to the same unfolding event. The visible explanation breaks down. Bigger is no longer an answer. Scale is no longer the question. Something is continuing to feed the storm, and whatever it is remains hidden beneath what Cassini can directly see. Scientists finally have something they can work with. Using Cassini atmospheric measurements, they begin mapping the storm's structure and comparing what they see against known patterns in Saturn's atmosphere. Little by little, the images start pointing in the same direction. The storm appears linked to a release of energy from deeper layers below the visible clouds. Then the observations provide a striking image. Massive plumes are rising upward, punching into cloud layers that can be seen from space. Material is moving through the atmosphere instead of remaining trapped below. For the first time, the storm seems to have a believable power source. The picture begins to fit together. Most of Saturn's atmosphere appears calm because much of its activity stays hidden from view. Then, on rare occasions, something erupts upward and suddenly becomes visible across the planet. As the deep plumes are identified, the models start matching what Cassini is observing. Confidence grows. Prediction feels possible again. The giant storm no longer looks completely mysterious. At least for the moment, it seems as though the cause has been found. And if the explanation is correct, Saturn's future behavior should finally start making sense. The explanation survives just long enough to become dangerous. The Cassini observation record keeps growing, and researchers continue comparing new observations against what their models expect to see. The logic seems straightforward. If the storm's cause has been identified, then its later behavior should begin following predictable patterns. But the comparison starts producing an uncomfortable result. The storm evolves in ways existing models struggle to predict. Simulations point toward one outcome, while the actual atmospheric features continue behaving differently. The forecast and the planet begin drifting apart. At first, the gap looks manageable. Then it keeps appearing. Observed behavior diverges from expected circulation patterns. Not once, but as the storm continues developing, the explanation still accounts for part of what is happening. It just does not account for all of it. That distinction matters. If the model cannot reliably anticipate what the atmosphere will do next, prediction becomes less dependable. Confidence that Saturn's weather is largely understood begins to weaken. The storm is no longer serving as confirmation. It is exposing limits. A deeper realization starts to take shape. The visible atmosphere may only be the surface expression of a much larger system. What Cassini can observe is real, but it may not be the whole machine driving the weather. Now the storm itself is no longer the central mystery. Whatever remains hidden beneath it is... Saturn comes back into view one last time. The pale globe looks familiar, calm, steady, almost unchanged. But now the storm's path can be traced across it, and the image no longer means what it once did. Through Saturn, viewed in Cassini's full record, the event reveals how little can be inferred from the planet's quiet exterior alone. The most dramatic activity did not begin in the layers visible from Earth. It came from deeper regions hidden below them. The eruption exposed powerful atmospheric processes that had been operating out of sight the entire time. That realization changes the planet itself. The familiar pale globe starts to feel less like the whole environment and more like a thin surface covering a far more active system beneath. What appears calm from a distance may only be the visible top layer of something much larger. And that is the storm's lasting consequence. Surface appearance cannot be treated as a complete description of a planetary environment. Deep atmospheric energy reservoirs can remain concealed for long periods, only revealing themselves when rare eruptions force them into view. Saturn did not become violent in 2010. It revealed that the violence was already there.